I moved into the house because it was cheap. Desperation drove me out of the city, away from the daily grind, the noise, the suffocating crush of people. I pictured a fresh start here, in this isolated, forgotten place. The house was old, barely livable, but I thought I could make it cozy. Then I found the basement. It was huge, dusty, filled with old furniture and the clutter of past lives, everything left behind like a time capsule. But the one thing I couldn't ignore was a door at the far end. Rusted shut, solid as a slab of concrete, it seemed more like part of the wall than a door. And something about it, just looking at it, made my skin crawl. Last week, I finally gave in and grabbed a crowbar, expecting maybe some tiny storage room. When the door finally gave way, it let out a long, low groan that seemed to vibrate through the floor. The smell that hit me was like nothing I'd ever experienced. Something foul and sickly sweet. The kind of smell that stays in your nostrils long after you've walked away. Inside was a tiny room, barely big enough to stand in. The walls were plastered with yellowing photographs, hundreds of them. The people in them stared back, blank and hollow-eyed, each face missing the eyes, just empty sockets gazing into nothing. I could feel them watching me, and part of me wanted to run. But then I noticed a box in the corner, old and clean as if someone had just placed it there. I shouldn't have opened it. Inside were dozens of glass jars, each holding something small and shriveled, blackened and dried out. My flashlight flickered, and that's when I thought I heard it. Whispering, faint but distinct, almost like 100 voices whispering over each other. Against all reason, I lifted one of the jars and looked closer. That's when I saw what was inside. A human eye staring back at me, glassy and dead. I dropped it, and it shattered on the concrete. The whispering turned instantly to a deep, guttural growl that rose up from the room itself. Panicked, I backed up toward the door, but it slammed shut. The darkness swallowed me whole as the light flickered and died. I could hear things moving, something crawling along the floor and scratching at the walls. When I finally managed to get my flashlight on, the beam barely cut through the darkness. But I saw them. Faces, pressing through the walls, their eyeless sockets staring at me from every corner of the room. Their mouths moved, whispering, but the words were foreign, like they were speaking through a layer of ice-cold water. I felt like I was losing my mind. I ran to the door, pounding on it until my fists hurt, screaming, but the whispering grew louder, a thick wall of sound filling the room. I spun around, and there, inches from my face, was one of those faces, grinning with a sick, twisted smile. Its voice was cold, crawling over me like winter air. "Thank you for letting us out." The door flew open, and I stumbled out, tearing up the stairs. I shoved a dresser in front of the basement door and didn't sleep the rest of the night. I sat there, holding a kitchen knife, just waiting for whatever I'd let out to come for me. The next morning, I called a locksmith to seal the basement shut. But when he arrived, he just looked at me, puzzled. He said, "There's no basement door here." I dragged him down, but where the door should have been, there was nothing but a solid wall, like the door had never been there. Since then, things have gotten worse. Every night, I hear scratching beneath the floorboards, and sometimes faint whispers echo through the house. And every morning, I find a photograph slipped under my bedroom door. Each picture is closer than the last, each one just a bit clearer, as if the faces are slowly coming back. Tonight, I hear something else. Footsteps, slow and steady, coming down the hall. I clutch my knife, barely breathing, as the sound stops outside my bedroom door. My hands tremble, but I force myself to listen. Then, in a voice that sounds like the whispers from the basement, I hear it. "Thank you for letting us in."